Yeah, I'm also curious what they do there because of with the new kickoff rule. I mean, I'm sure you guys heard what Dave Tobe said with the Chiefs, how they're looking to make Justin Reed do kickoffs, which is really interesting. I wonder if other teams look at that the same way and they bring on a kicker simply for place kicking.
Wouldn't you, with the new rules wouldn't you want like a really accurate long kicker? Like somebody, wouldn't the biggest advantage be able to like kick it to the 2?
I could see that, but I could also see the desire to have a really good tackler too. And you don't want your place kicker getting mauled. Like for that, I mean, you don't want a Harrison Butker getting mauled, but
that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5'11", 193. This guy, Ramiz Ahmed, is built just like me. So I don't know that I qualify as a good NFL tackler.
Or a kicker.
Maybe for a kicker.
Yeah.
Or a kicker. You don't.
Certainly not. How would you play this new playoff rule or the new kickoff rule be?
I mean, to be honest with you, the kickers are normally well protected unless they're going to be putting their nose in it. I need a guy who can hang it up a little bit and make them field it inside the 5 and have to return and allow my guys a chance to, because now where they're starting from, it's not, if you have an accurate kicker and you have guys that can avoid and run fast to get that speed up before those guys can get set to block them, that's going to help out your coverage unit. But the kicker needs to be very, very accurate at what he's doing.
If you were returning these kicks, what would you want to happen? Like, how would you want the design to be?
I would love to just hit it. Like I'm going to start a direction and everybody going to know when I hit a certain point, I'm going straight ahead. Get on your guy. Because once when you have a kickoff now, you have 2 to 3 different waves. Right now it's one wave.
Right.
You get through that one wave, you should be gone.
Nikki, I wanted to ask you this. Brian Robinson, last time we were out there, had the comments about maybe running a little more no huddle. And I think people got really excited. But I think at the same time, Kingsbury has tried to be fairly like deflective anytime the notion of the air raid comes up. What do you think this offense will end up looking like when we get to September 8th?
I mean, I think that Kliff was right in that the air raid label is sort of a misnomer for his offense. I mean, yeah, that's his history. That's sort of the core of it. But honestly, his best stuff in Arizona were the QB design runs. So it's not like he's, it's absent of a run game in his offense. I think it's much more balanced. And I do think just based on the limited, sample size that we have, that he does tailor it to the personnel. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. And I know Mina Kimes and some others have said this on their podcast that, I wouldn't be surprised if you see some stuff from like what the Eagles run, because that would be, a lot of what Jalen Hurts does that's a really good comp for Jayden Daniels and his skill set and his strength. So, I mean, that would make a lot of sense to me, but I think it's still so early yet that, watching OTAs, you'll never get a clear picture of what the offense is. I think deeper into training camp when, there's competition is when you'll see it.
But the thing about it, though, Jalen Hurts is built for that. And I know people make a lot of comments about Jayden's size. Do you think they want to put him in that position more often than not?
Well, he's got to be smart with the hits he takes, but at the same time, I mean, look at Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
He's now Jayden's size. This might be the new trend that quarterbacks are getting smaller to be faster. So, I push back a little bit on the size stuff. I think with other positions, it's certainly been warranted. I think that, the size skepticism with Emmanuel Forbes was certainly warranted.
Yeah.
Though that hasn't seemed to be a huge issue for him. His issues are other things, but, watching Jayden Daniels out there, I realize the college game is a lot different than the pro game. You're going up against huge men. But I don't think he's that small. I think it's more about being smart about taking the hits you do.
But and then again with Jayden, don't you think when you look at him, he's a better pocket passer than a lot of these guys?
I think he's a passer who happens to be a good runner.
Yeah.
He's a very good passer, though. He's not just a runner who throws the ball occasionally.
I think that's where a lot of people got themselves mixed up when they were looking at him. They immediately thought he was just, this running quarterback, when the guy basically is a pocket passer that happens to be very damn fast.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so and the tight ends here, as you look forward, Zach Ertz, who else can be someone that steps up and really center? They drafted him. Um, will he be more? Is he a pass catcher or a blocker?
I view him more as a blocker.
Mhm.
I like the undrafted guy that they brought on. Why am I blanking on his name? He looked pretty good. I mean, granted, again, it's still like early.
Yeah.
But Colson Yankov, I think he could be really good. And I think a lot of people forgot that Amani Rogers is still on the team. So I'm curious to see if he looks anything like he did a couple years ago when he was starting to come on before he was injured. So Colson Yankov did look good though in like the early parts of OTAs and rookie minicamp. So I'm curious if he kind of turns into someone at that position. I mean, that is a position that is still unknown and is frankly lacking. It has been for years, just the production there. And it hasn't all been the fault of the tight ends, but they just haven't gotten the production that they wanted there.
A guy like
They do need like a bigger pass catcher, period.
Yeah. A guy like Rodgers, though, where he's shown what he could be, but he's not there when they need it necessarily. Is he at the point now where he needs to truly prove this thing to somebody?
I
because
think so.
Yeah.
And he's bigger now. I mean, I was looking at some of his posts on Instagram. I'm like, I didn't even recognize him. He looks so different. Cole Turner too. He's gotten bigger, but yeah, I think the little bit he showed with Ron Rivera honestly doesn't matter at this point with the new regime. So yeah, this is absolutely a prove it now time for him and for everybody in that group.
We talk so much about the quarterback, Nicki, and JP had to step out to take a call, but we talk so much about the quarterback. Is there another story that people are missing?
I mean, what do you mean by that?
Like we talk about quarterbacks so much. A lot of times you got Bobby Wagner, his impact on this defense, his impact on the offense. Those type of stories. Is there anything else out there that it probably can be a second to the quarterback position?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one. Just kind of how they remade the linebacking core. I think the way they built this team is definitely a storyline, just in bringing on these veterans who can kind of serve as those leaders and set the tone in year one with Quinn and Peters. And then, how the younger guys come along. I think the method that they've gone about in doing that is it shows that nearly every level, Jeremy Chin on the back end, Wagner at linebacker, you got guys that, Cleveland Farrell, I think he's another one that could be really interesting if he really, he's like a number 4 overall pick. That could be really interesting there. Austin Eckler at running back and, Tyler Biadasz at center and those guys. So I think at every level, that's sort of the theme there is bring in these types of veterans. So I definitely think that's one storyline. And I think the other one is just simply, what is this going to look like? There's still a major question mark with this team on both sides. And I mean, all 3 phases now too with, new special teams really with Trev. I mean, that to me is, we may not even know the answer in year one. They may not fully realize the vision that they wanted in year one. So yeah, I think there are a ton of secondary stories on this roster. But I think it starts and ends with quarterback though.